Zombies. They've changed radically over the past 100 years. Early popular depictions of zombies were more likely to be mindless slaves than hordes of revived, rotting flesh. In the 19th century, Haitian voodoo religion, priests and sorcerers were rumored to paralyze victims, make them appear dead, and then actually resurrect them as bewitched bodies with no free will, only the ability to obey commands. These zombies tended to epitomize the real-life horrors of dehumanization and slavery from the all-too-recent colonial past. Hollywood, however, gave zombies its usual treatment, turning zombieism into stories all about white people, as it transformed Haitians' fears of slavery into dark fantasies of reverse colonialism. The very first zombie movie, the 1932 White Zombie, imagines what would happen if a voodoo priest turned his sorcery on white American victims. An American couple visits a plantation in 19th century colonial Haiti and fall afoul of a voodoo priest. White Zombie traffics its exotic images and stereotypes, portraying the native Haitians as buffoonish and superstitious. When faced with the idea that his fiancée has been taken by the natives, the American protagonist claims it a fate worse than death. Despite its ambiguous racial politics, the movie consciously or unconsciously positions zombies as political metaphors. While the film suggests that voodoo priests enslaving white people are the most horrifying thing ever conceived, it also shows many gruesome scenes of Haitians forced back into slavery by the vaguely Eastern European-style Bela Lugosi. And so, White Zombie reimagines the cruelty of slavery for a contemporary audience and connects zombies to politics, a trend that would continue for decades. Given the rise of American counterculture and its growing opposition to the Vietnam War, America's interest in voodoo movies slowly faded, until one scrappy film brought the world zombies as we know them today. George Romero's indie movie-on-a-budget Night of the Living Dead became a cult hit that spawned countless number of sequels and imitators by zombies more disgusting, the political themes more explicit, and the metaphors a bit meatier. In Romero's film, it's not a voodoo priest, but radiation that raises the long-dead corpses. After seeing the dead rise in a cemetery, a small group of the living takes shelter in an old farmhouse, while the reanimated dead are mindlessly attacking humans. They are an uncontrolled, unthinking horde which shuffles slowly but overwhelms living beings with its sheer number of bodies. Night of the Living Dead uses scenes that revive recent memories of the civil rights violence and fears of nuclear war. In Romero's sequel, Dawn of the Dead, a small group of zombie survivors locks themselves in a suburban mall to avoid the swarming hordes. However, the zombies' most intense, basic memories send them back to the place they frequently visited in life. Like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead zombie hordes stand in for an unthinking, conformist American populace. In this case, zombies represent mindless suburban consumers whose free will has been sublimated to the rampant desire for useless consumer goods. Despite being decades old, Romero's films continue to make a relevant statement about mindless impulses of American culture. For the next few decades, zombies continued to use Romero's inspiration, becoming grosser, campier, and more ludicrous. Zombies became more extreme, gaining the power of speech and beginning their lust for brains. And the films reveled in their debased and sometimes disgusting imagery. However, in 2002, zombies changed again. Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later continued Romero's political bent, but grants zombies the one thing they've been lacking: speed. Influenced by advances in microbiology and current fears of viral outbreaks, 28 Days Later capitalizes on contemporary fears of biological contagion and social unrest. These zombies also mindlessly attacked in hordes, but are driven by a virus, not radiation or a voodoo priest. In 28 Days Later, survivors attempt to find a place safe from those infected with the rage virus, which gives the zombies superhuman speed and strength. The group finds that the military safe zone, however, is as dangerous as the virally infected, if not more so. Boyle uses zombies to explore England's post-colonial politics. The protagonists struggle to emancipate themselves from the brutality of the British Army, evoking questions of Britain's imperial past. The egotistical captain even chains up zombies for experimentation, referencing their earlier voodoo zombie films. In the sequel, 28 Weeks Later, director Juan Carlos Fresnadilla uses the infected and Britain's containment policy as a metaphor for the Iraq War. AMC's hit TV show The Walking Dead is the culmination of the contemporary zombie film's apocalyptic tendencies. Based on a hit comic book series of the same name, The Walking Dead follows an ex-sheriff's deputy, Rick Grimes, and a group of survivors attempt to endure after an apocalypse of walkers. As the years go by with no reorganization of society, the group has to take part in more and more deplorable actions to survive. And they are the protagonists of this story. Their human enemies engage in cannibalism, despotism, and human sacrifice. In the show, the zombies fade into the background. It instead exposes the real threat of any zombie apocalypse: living humans. The animalistic natures of the walkers mirror the lows that the survivors have sunk to. The Walking Dead minimizes the earlier film's political critiques and emphasizes dark fantasies of the upcoming apocalypse. Given the rise in doomsday prepping that takes place in real life, The Walking Dead is perhaps a more attuned reflection of current American fears of a post-apocalyptic future, instead of a critique of contemporary politics. George Romero once said,
"My stories have always been more about the humans and the mistakes that they make, and the zombies are just sort of out there. They could be a hurricane or a typhoon or anything. They're the disaster that everyone is facing. But my stories are more about the humans."
And he's right. Zombies in all of these stories are anti-humans. They are prisoners, slaves without agency or free will. They recount our past and foretell a future. They're augurs of what we may again become. While they sometimes shuffle slowly, and we can often outrun them, we are never truly safe. But the horror's grossest, most repellent dead creatures, zombies link political critique, rotting flesh, and even campy humor into one giant throng. And despite hanging around for a while, their influence is still amassing. They have shuffled into the heart of contemporary pop culture, feasting on humans in TV, movies, songs, music videos, and even lumbering on parade in zombie walks. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website even promotes a zombie preparedness guide to help citizens prepare for disaster. Zombies may rise and fall in popularity, but one thing is certain: they will keep on returning because we love zombies and they love us for what's on our insides.